Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and again today joined by my good friend and wonderful co-host, Oscar. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
It's the day we've all been waiting for, right? They waited for the tiny gem of good news of the 0-0 draw and getting over the points line, and we finally have season ticket information for the Championship season. And I think it's fair to say it's been received in mixed fashion. I mean, I personally much more looking forward to a year in the Championship than this season. How about you, Oscar?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't had a season ticket for a while, but I did consider it next year. But just, yeah, I can see there being an uptake, but it's one of those where they've actually dropped the price and got quite a lot of backlash for it. And, you know, I understand, I'm sure we'll get into the intricacies of it shortly, but it does seem one of those they can't really win at the moment. But, you know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So I guess let's sort of dive into it. As a season ticket holder myself, obviously it's interesting to see the difference season on season. Like you say, there's a sort of 5% across the board drop, which is interesting because obviously more games in the Championship. And last time we went down from the Premier League to the Championship, it actually stayed at the same price. They didn't drop it. And considering they kind of, with the Northern Wall stuff last season, they kind of dropped the price lower than what you were expecting, where they weren't sure whether it was going to be Championship or Premier League. It was a sort of a pretty reasonable price in the scheme of things. And they've stuck and done the 5% drop based off of that price, that reduced price for the northern section as well, which is where I sit. So that's sort of interesting. I guess the big controversial where they're getting a lot of the backlash is the changes to the split payments and the payments across months. Adding that 5% back on for fees and handling onto that, which is maybe a bit extreme, and reducing the ability to pay it over 10 months down to 6 months. That's going to hit a lot of people hard, I think.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, maybe it's something that it's a tricky one. I think obviously with the current climate of things, you would like to think they would have had a bit of foresight towards that. So yeah,
I don't think they've helped themselves with the wording in the release either, right? Because they've blamed abuse of the payment structure system last year or this season currently as to why they've made the changes they've made, which, you know, frankly is only going to relate to a minority of people who pay via that method. Presumably people who saw the quality of the football this season and decided to stop paying. And yeah, I think it is unfortunate. I mean, I'm going to be one of the people affected by that change. I paid across 10 months last year, and I crunched some numbers to sort of give a bit of insight. Obviously, as you know, I go with my kids. I'm very lucky in that I also go with my sister-in-law, and she pays for one of the kids. So I worked out that last year we got a bolt-on, silver bolt-on as well. Or we got 3 bolt-ons across the 4 of our season tickets. But for one bolt-on and my season ticket and one of my kids' season tickets, it worked out at a sort of £80 a month payment. Whereas just for the tickets for me and one kid on this new payment structure forced across the 6 months would come in at 115, which is sort of month on month. That's a huge jump. Obviously, you pay it for less months and the price balances out, but not everyone's going to be in a position to do that.
No,
I haven't worked out yet if I'm going to be in a position to do that, to be honest. It's going to be a fun conversation with the financial advisor.
I think it's you know, it's always a difficult one with partnering things up, and again, you would like to think there'd be a bit more foresighted towards it all. You know, again, it's tricky. I think especially with Sports Republic, because they're trying to find that balance between making us financially sustainable, and you know, the PSR conversation does come into it, and I know they've done quite a lot of things towards the towards the sort of marketing side of things to try and help build a platform for us to be a bit more competitive in the Premier League in future. And I think people do have to realise that, if they want that, that is the reality of it. But I think, again, the club have to realise they're making enough money from other areas that they probably do owe the fans a bit of something for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like some goodwill, or just the smallest piece of goodwill, would go a long way. And I kind of feel like they genuinely might have been naive enough to have thought that just dropping the price 5% would have been enough of a goodwill, and sort of gloss over the fact that actually, like, the real life cost to a lot of fans of going is, it's crazy money. Like, that's a lot of money a month to go and watch the football. And
I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen the video that they released alongside it as well?
it was real guilt trippy.
It wasn't
Real
it? Really hard, pulling on the heartstrings. They're obviously conscious that they need to sort of try and buy people back in a little bit to an extent.
Yeah. And now I will, in the interest of fairness, look at the other side of the coin a little bit, because to be honest, it does hurt a bit for me thinking I've gone from great season in the Championship to, like, am I even actually going to be able to renew? Which it's been a bit gut wrenching. But the other side of the coin is actually not a lot of clubs offer these payment schemes. A lot of clubs, it is sort of upfront or nothing anyway, and so you can definitely see, especially as that obviously got abused last year to some degree. It obviously caused them some sort of admin headache for them to have out and out mention it in a release where they're definitely going to have been looking for more goodwill than I think they've managed to achieve. Yeah. But it's just such a big change. It is an interesting one. There's some other changes as well. I guess we'll go into the other bits after the break about the bolt-ons and the way they've been structured. But first, a message from our partners at Bionique.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Okay, and we're back. So yeah, I guess let's move on from the split a bit. The pricing, I don't know if there's a lot to talk about. It's a drop of 5%, more games. I kind of feel like that's sort of fair enough. I don't know how you feel about the prices in general, Oscar.
Is it what's the difference in reflection to our last season in the Championship? Has it changed much from that?
I think it's pretty close, to be honest. I know that when we got relegated to the Championship before, we were on the back of, I think, 3 straight years of price freezes anyway, which made it much harder to judge. And then they more or less kept the price the same going into the Championship. I think there was a slight drop. And then, there was quite a substantial increase for the non-northern areas last year. But that really, when I saw it in sort of the perspective of the season tickets of the other clubs around us, it was still cheaper. It was still sort of behind the rise you might have expected.
I think it'd be interesting to see the comparisons between us and sort of similar level clubs to around where we are and the ones that are sort of lower Premier League towards top Championship.
Yeah. It will definitely be interesting. And I would think that it would probably be at the right in the middle is where I would estimate it being, sort of maybe at the top end of the middle. But it's interesting to think as well that it comes in a season where we saw Eastleigh offering season tickets for £99, effectively in an effort to attract disillusioned Saints fans, presumably. It will be interesting to see how popular they are with those changes and with the prices, what they are. And last season was the demand, I think, was the most season tickets we've ever sold. So it'll be interesting to see if the demand is the same.
Yeah,
With that in
especially in
mind.
the environment off the back of that, where I
Mm.
think quite a lot of fans are pretty disillusioned with everything at the moment.
Yeah, and rightly so, because it's been a horrible season. But I wanted to talk about bolt-ons, and I think it's a controversial, probably, topic. I don't know your thoughts or feelings on them, but you're saying about like changes to the profitability of the club and the other sources. I actually think the bolt-ons were quite a nice way of doing that because they're optional. You're not sort of obliged to do it. And like I say, last year we got some bolt-ons for the retail voucher codes for the shirts. I've had some issues using the retail vouchers, but I don't think that changes my opinion on that they were a pretty reasonable thing. This year they've changed it a bit, and some of the wording is quite interesting around the sort of packages you get with the hospitality. Whereas last year it was sort of a generic hospitality upgrade, like the gold tier ones are specifically for the Dell, whereas the sort of more expensive ones, the platinum ones, are pairs of tickets to any of the club restaurants and a pair of tickets to a Saints Legends tour, and then a pair of tickets to an exclusive event, which is something that they've been pushing more of this season, right, with these different events and the sort of revenue that generates. So I think it's interesting. I don't think it's a bad idea to push those and to try and, I guess, entice people in with a taste by sort of reducing the price with that
Yeah.
as a bolt-on.
So
I don't know.
the bolt-ons are like their extra bonuses that you can choose to pay for on top of to basically upgrade your ticket for a game or something, right?
Yeah. So
And other
you
things.
can tack them on with your season ticket, which does mean that you can spread the cost of that across the length of the season ticket, which last year was really useful with the 10 months as well, because we stuck the bolt-ons on. It meant that come kit launch we were able to get a shirt without worrying too much about it. And this year, yeah, it's the same. You can stick it on the end. They've got 4 tiers this year.
Yeah.
But as well as the mentions of the hospitality, what I, as a very maths-based person, immediately deduced was the values, right? And so the lowest tier is the foundation tier, which just comes with the gift pack, which used to come as standard as the season ticket, with the season tickets. But I think on the back of one of the fan surveys, I think basically the response was, "Why are you sending me this tat? I'd prefer other benefits of being a season ticket." And what they took from that was, let's remove that as a free thing and add it as value. And it comes with a donation to the Saints Foundation. Now that is an additional £40 on top of your season ticket. And now last year the gift pack was valued at like £25 or something. So you're using that as a basis. Then the next tier up is the silver pack. And this comes with the gift pack and the donation as well, but also a voucher for a shirt, basically. So season ticket and a shirt and your little gift box. Now that they've got that worth a value of 95 plus pound. And the cost that you pay for it on top of the season ticket is £85. So what I'm reading from that and deducing is that with that £95 of value, if you take into account the £40 from the gift box and the donation, they're expecting shirts to be about £65 to £70 next season, which seems high for a championship season, right? I don't
It
know.
does. It does. It seems to be, without going too much into the financial side of things, because I can't pretend it's something I'm massively an expert in. It does seem like, again, a lot if you're trying to rebuild, which is what I got from that video, is that they're trying to reintegrate the feeling around the club, of what we are and etc. So again, not the smartest move to bang up the shirt prices if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I just think it's a really interesting decision. I don't know how much of that is, of course, sort of pre-decided and pre-tied in with the Puma deal, or maybe that was decided, long before a ball was kicked this season, right? Where, oh yeah, part of the deal is we introduce this shirt as the introductory one, and then in the second season we introduce it, and it has to have a price increase. I don't know. I'm
So
not an expert in any of that side of it, but it
no,
is
do all the
interesting.
bolt-ons include the extra bonus donation to the Saints Foundation, or?
Yeah, all four layers include the gift pack and the donation to the Saints Foundation, and then silver, gold, and platinum all include the shirt as well. And then the difference between gold and platinum is gold you get a match day meal and drink for two at the Dell with one Bolt-on, which is interesting.
And that's every game.
For one game.
Sorry, for one game, yeah.
Yeah, you also get a pair of tickets for one game for Saints Bar, and you get a SFC tour for two people as well chucked in. Now the difference between that and last year, because we didn't have a platinum last year, we only had the gold, as I recall. I believe the price for the gold last year when we were looking was £165 on top of your season ticket, and that came with the gift pack, the shirt, and the one upgrade to hospitality. So obviously you get a couple of extra bits this year, but this year it's £285 on top of your season ticket.
Yeah,
It's not
that
it's
is
not
hefty.
cheap.
No,
Yeah, but I guess you're getting a couple of upgrades as opposed to one upgrade and a tour. And then, the platinum, which we didn't have last year, but it makes use of the higher levels of hospitality. And that's a pair of tickets to a club restaurant, a pair of tickets to a Saints Legends tour, and a pair of tickets to an exclusive event. And that one's £595 on top of your season ticket.
Jesus.
Which is, that's, even if you were looking to spread that, that's basically a whole nother season ticket for most of the round. That's definitely a certain market they're targeting there, and it's not most of the fan base, that's for sure. But I think that, like I say, I think the idea of bolt-ons is fine, and I don't mind it. It's all optional at the end of the day. No one's forcing you to grab it, and maybe the shirt one works out at good value, but it feels a bit tone deaf. Right?
Yeah, I think so. I think like it's a nice opportunity to sort of show a little award, and even if it is you get all right, maybe not get a shirt with it, but you get something small that only you can get as a season ticket holder. Like again, it's not. I can't profess to have been a season ticket holder for all my life, so I'm a bit blind to some of it, but. There should be something that recognises that you've done that you've made that commitment, that you've even if it's a pin badge every year, or this, that, or the other.
That's what they used to send. It used to literally just be a little box with your physical card in, and a little pin, and maybe a little letter, and sometimes like another little keepsake, like a signed football
But I
card.
think that should be the minimum. And if you want to add stuff on, then fair enough, you can do that. But there should be something where it's not just
you have to pay £40 for that privilege this year.
Yeah.
So,
and also to donate for the Saints Foundation. That's a bizarre one to me, because Saints Foundation, correct me if I'm completely wrong, anyone that works for the Saints Foundation, but fairly sure not actually a charity, isn't. A lot of them aren't actually charity, these foundations, and a lot of the money goes back into the club anyway. I could be wrong with that, but with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that the foundation does a lot of good work in the community, but I don't know. Again, I don't know the logistics or the specials. I think it's fine to chuck it in as a tick on a benefit, but it
exactly
feels like
if you're gonna, tick this if you want to chuck 10% of your season ticket or whatever into or a certain donation to the Saints Foundation. But it seems a bit cheeky to me to force it on. I suppose it's not forcing it because you're opting to buy whatever the bolt-on is.
But just with the values going up so much, like £40 for a little gift box and a donation, it just seems it seems crazy. That seems crazy, even in comparison to the 85 for the shirt. Like the shirt feels like the much better value option of the two, but even that feels, I don't know, just like you're already paying so much money for the season ticket as it is, and like I say, with the reduced options to pay over the long term. I think a lot of people are going to struggle with it, and it'll be an interesting one to see how it goes. I want to move on to the benefits as well, but I guess first a message from our partners at Zencaster. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencaster came out the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencaster. Okay, so the last point I want to touch on is the benefits. Now, last season, they came under heavy fire, and I think rightly so, because it felt a lot like they took away basically all the benefits of being a season ticket holder. So previously, the year before, and as long as I had been a season ticket holder, which to be fair is only a couple of seasons before that, but you got 10% off in the shop all the time on everything.
Yeah.
You got, I think, 15% or 20% off of food and drink at St Mary's, all the way up to like 30 minutes before kickoff, I think it was. And there were some other bits and bobs, discounts spotted here and there, and some other bits. Obviously, the standard, the early access to tickets and junior season ticket holders being entered into Matchday mascot opportunities, which I have never seen come true. And all that other stuff. But last year they took a different approach. They took a lot of the discounts away. The discounts were only at very specific times at the Matchday grounds. I think it was only 2 hours before kickoff in the fan zones or something. I don't really go to drink beer at the ground, to be honest. It's not. I take my kids, we go and take a picnic and sit and watch the warm-ups. It's maybe a slightly different match day experience than some of our listeners, but particularly the retail discount come under a lot of stick, because it was that you did have a 10% discount, but only on weeks where they declared that it was a season ticket holder discount week, which I think transpired to be about a 2-week period in November, which was crazy. This year they've gone a slightly different approach, which is, again, I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. It's a discount, 10% discount on retail merchandise, with the exception of kit. I don't know what other merchandise really you'd be interested in receiving a discount on.
No, is that by kit? Is that like the replica shirts?
Yeah, the replica. Well, it says with the exception of replica kit, so I presume that's replica shirts, replica shorts, probably replica socks. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. That's a very narrow. That's a very broad, because that could include training kit. That can include, warm up kit. No, yeah, that is an interesting one. I mean, I guess
I don't know if this is again part of the deal that they've struck with to bring Puma on board, and maybe their sort of hands are tied. But it feels like a really narrow and specific.
It does. I think, like, with a business head on, probably I think they realise that whatever they do, within reason, but whatever they do, people are going to buy. They're going to buy kit. They're going to buy the shirt, realistically.
Yeah.
Like, it would take a lot for someone not to buy a shirt, and they know that. Just being the cynic of the football industry, ultimately the club shop in itself is not just at Southampton. This is every club. Is it's a bit of a sham. It's what can we throw the club logo on to try and trick people into spending money. And that, to me, seems like, well, we know they're going to buy the kit anyway. If we give them this, A, it looks like we're giving them a benefit, and B, it means that they're more likely to buy the other tat.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a sucker for a bit of Southampton branded tat.
100%. I'm pretty sure on the shelf behind me I have a Southampton branded deck of playing cards.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm trying to see what I've got around me. I've got too much in here, actually. But
yeah, that's it. It also comes, so they've changed the structure to the pre-kickoff discounts. So it's 20% on food and drink for up to 2 hours before kickoff, and 10% up to 1 hour before kickoff, which I think is more discount than we were getting this season. Although, to be honest, like I say, I don't really use it, so I didn't really read into what the discount was this season. That's including the Dell.
Is that a new thing that's come into it? The fact that they've put a timestamp on it, because I'm sure it used to just be if you've got a season ticket, you get X amount off food and drink.
I don't know. I know it's as long as I have been a season ticket holder, which is since our first relegation season, or our last relegation season. It's always been slightly time reduced, but I think that the time has grown. Like, I think it was half an hour before kickoff when I first started going, all the way up to this season where it was only 2 hours before kickoff.
Yeah,
and I mean, who's arriving at the ground 2 hours before kickoff?
No,
not many people.
No,
but this is more discount, I think, and it includes the Dell.
I think that's probably what they're trying to encourage, is changing the matchday experience, right? And they're trying to get people to go to the Dell and to the fan zones and to make more of a, rather than just, you turn up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, go straight in. I'm like you, I like to get there early and watch the warm-ups, and I usually
like
grab a bit of food on the way in.
Yeah, it's almost like you go to watch, the football, which is something that I think the focus gets taken away off a lot from our owners, because it's fine. Different strokes, different folks. I've been in the fan zones a few times before the game if they've had someone interesting, or a band that are half decent on, or if it's just or if I've got mates coming with me and we want to go for a drink rather than go and watch the warm up. And it's fine. It's a lovely experience, and I'm glad that it's there as an option for people. It's just, the discount it's kind of more than it was. It still also feels like, it's not.
It's just a bit of a sad statement of the direction that football's, it's been heading in and continues to head.
And then other than that, the other benefits are a discount code for Saints Play, which I think is the audio pass. If that floats your boat, why you'd get an audio pass if you go in every
game,
I don't know. But I mean, again, different strokes for different folks. Maybe people sit in the ground with a headset on and want to listen to that.
To be fair, I think there are people that do that. I think the people that do that are usually the ones that got their little radios with them. And
do you know what? Great. I'm glad that is an option for those people. It's not for me.
No, I agree.
Discount on Legend Stadium tours. This is again, it's another one where it seems to be something that they're starting to push that I've not really seen before now.
No. What's the Legend Stadium? Does that get you do a tour?
Yeah, I think that is one of the stadium tours where you're also accompanied by a legend. I think it normally involves some sort of sit-down meal or something. Yeah. Priority access window discount on events at St Mary's, subject to event promoters. So again, pushing for the other income streams outside of the football. And a 10% discount on week-long soccer schools, which I don't know if that's been part of the discount package before, to be honest, as my son is only just of an age where that might start to become of interest, but I might be...
That's a very specific thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, again, that's not something that is a real narrow window, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess not as narrow. It's like 8 to 16-year-olds that can take part in that. So I guess it's reasonably broad, but it seems a bit tacked on and random.
Just seems to be one of those things that's been thought up by people that are business-minded, not necessarily football-minded. Which I think 100%. Has been a criticism of Sports Republic in the past. And it's where you almost want someone with a bit of a football brain, or someone that is associated with a football club, to be part of it. And that's where probably you get some of your EFL clubs where that is the case, where you get a bit more of that and they understand it a bit more. When it starts to go, multinational and this, that and the other in Premier League, and that environment, maybe you lose a little bit of that. So, yeah.
And I think the whole thing reeks of that, and I don't think we should be surprised by that. Our owners are business-minded people who have done a reasonably good job. I think it's safe to say they have been successful in their aim of making Southampton a more financially stable
I think so. I think that's what
we turned profit in the last series of books. And
I think that's what's got to be looked at. Like, if people, I understand the argument. Like, it's all very well and good opening a pub, but that doesn't help us on the pitch. It does, and it will. It has to. We have to do it because we have to make a certain amount of profit to be able to spend the money that we want to spend. So there is no other choice but to invest in the infrastructure of the club so that we make enough profit that we can, that we can then afford to go and buy a striker when we get promoted back to the Premier League. Because it's not the lack of investment that's hurting us; it's the fact that we physically can't invest, and it's all the top clubs are struggling with it. All the sort of, I say the top clubs, I mean the ones that aren't the big six, because it seems like, you can sell yourself a hotel that belongs to you and that makes you profit. Southampton aren't in that boat where we can do that. So, we have to find a way of doing it, but they also have to find a way of doing it where they're not going to completely alienate their fan base, which have just spent a year being absolutely pummeled into the ground.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that a lot of the reaction I've seen on various social medias is the same. Some negative outcry for the, up in the price for people that want to split the cost. Some people that aren't going to do it because it's not viable with that additional restriction. And, like I say, it is a big jump up to go from being able to take two of you, an adult and a child, and a Bolt-on with a shirt for 80 quid to jump up to 110 for just tickets is a big jump.
Significant.
And then, also the rabble who are like, yeah, great, season ticket, standard, next, move on. But yeah. I don't know. It's been a mixed reaction. I think maybe rightly so. I kind of see both sides.
They'll sort of point at the headline and say, look, 5% cheaper, look, 5%, but don't worry about that stuff. But look, 5% cheaper. And, that's what but...
I mean, they clearly had an issue with the missing payments last year with the extended, and where they don't do a credit check or do a financial agreement or anything. Like it clearly caused a lot of work for the staff chasing up payments and tracking them down and disabling tickets, and then having to sort of try and resell those tickets as they sort of sold them but not made money on them. And it's a shame that what is clearly a minority of people are going to have taken that option away with that headache they've caused. It'll be interesting to see how well the sales go. Like I say, they had the record high season ticket sales last year. I don't know if the numbers are going to be as good this year.
No. Especially off the back of that.
Yeah, 100%. Wow. It's certainly interesting. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if I can talk my wife into it. And other than that, I don't know what else to add. I certainly hope so. I'm looking forward to a year in the Championship. I hope that, my kids are certainly looking forward to a year in the Championship. They're going to be gutted if we can't make it work. So, but anyway, that is just about all we've got time for today. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about something, I'm sure. I'm sure that the club will give us something. Until then, thank you very much for joining me, Oscar. It's been a fun one. Thanks everyone for listening. Let us know in the comments. How do you feel about the season tickets? Are you going to be renewing or getting your first season ticket next year? Let us know. Until tomorrow. See you next time.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.